On this episode of Grassroots Garage, we're checking out Damon's World Time Attack car. You'll remember Damon from his 20B powered FD RX-7. Stay tuned for part 2 with Damon's Evo as we follow his progress at World Time Attack.
Welcome to Grassroots Garage. Last time you saw Damon, it was an FD RX-7 and it was absolutely stunning. This time it's a race car. Damon, thanks for your time, man.
Thanks, Pete.
Mate, tell us about your car.
Evo 6 Time Attack car.
Last time I spoke to you, we were talking unlimited budgets. Is this the unlimited budget build or what?
Look, I'd have to say a 20B FD RX-7 is definitely not a cheap exercise. This is a more expensive exercise than a 20B RX-7, definitely.
Yeah, I love that.
So this is a 4G63 Evo engine. It's a billet block, MoTeC head, Hypertune rocket cover. So it's running a BorgWarner Turbo. We've actually just put a new turbo on it for Time Attack because the other one was shagged, so that's why it's not actually connected at the moment. But it'll be all ready to go for next week. Runs a dry sump. There's the oil dry sump reservoir at the top.
Straight to the struts out.
Yeah, they have. So we're sort of working towards shortest distance to the engine. Yep. Some people like to put them inside the cockpit. Some people have them at the back, but then you're running a lot of weight in terms of cables and pipes and things like that.
So we've got oil. That black one's the oil cooler.
Oil cooler.
Inner cooler
At the front. The thing with aero cars is you've actually got to plug up a lot of the holes, so these engines get really, really hot. So this car runs water meth. So we run water meth just to keep the engine a little bit cooler.
Extra. What's this one?
It's a fuel surge tank.
A fuel, a little surgy.
So it's a little fuel cell that supplies the mechanical pump with fuel, just down the back of the head.
This is in here.
So that's a mechanical fuel pump, yeah.
Is that where they always are?
No, we designed that bracket.
Is that that's a special Powertune?
Yeah.
So if you want one, you got to come see you guys.
Yeah, they're available online.
That.
You can just buy them online or come in and see us. We've got them in stock.
That's mad. So you got a little surgy there, and it's just gravity fed, is it? Or like it sucks.
It sucks. And a lot of people will run that line to the back to the fuel tank.
Oh yeah.
But in my opinion, it's a bit too far away for that pump to be sucking it. So
the fuel, the rear fuel pump just fills that.
Yep.
That's mad.
Just keeps that full of fuel, and then that the mechanical pump gets its fuel from there.
Are they the water meth injectors? These ones?
No, it's twin injector per cylinder.
Yeah.
The water meth solenoids injectors are underneath the plenum.
Underneath it.
So you can see you see on the firewall over there. It's got like a distribution block with those clear tubing.
Clear tubes.
Oh yeah.
4 of them, one each cylinder.
Yeah.
Port, so direct port.
Yeah.
And then there's one that goes to the hot side intercooler pipe, and then one that goes into the air cleaner pipe.
So and the computer just knows when to start.
Yeah, we can program it to turn on and off at whatever boost, RPM.
Magic.
Yeah.
So what computer's that?
It's a MoTeC.
MoTeC.
Yeah.
Is that your computer of choice, the MoTeC?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So the whole car's got the
more
MoTeC.
sensors than the space shuttle, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
So they're the best ECU in the world.
And you've always been into MoTeC? That's been
No, we used to use other brands, but for the last sort of 5-6 years, we got into the MoTeCs, and we haven't looked back.
Yeah.
Have not looked back.
Wow.
They're brilliant,
I love that.
and they've been around like any form of motorsport worldwide. It's all MoTeC.
Yeah.
So they know how to build an ECU.
Yeah. Mate, I've always said use the computer that your tuner likes.
Yeah.
So stick with MoTeC, man.
The other thing we talk about is whoever builds the engine, make sure that they can tune the car, because a lot of guys make that mistake of having an engine built somewhere, and then they go and tune it, and then something happens to the engine, and the tuner goes, no, it's the engine builder, and the engine builder goes, no, it's the tuner.
Yeah. Someone who's going to take ownership of it.
Take responsibility. Grant?
So what kind of boost do you reckon you'll run on the day?
Depends on how the driver's feeling. I suppose.
As much as possible.
Yeah, we can. I think the limit's going to be around the 45, 50 pound mark.
But that'd be coming down the main straight in the top gears. Like, is it
It can
MoTeC?
be.
You can tell it how much boost in each
Yeah,
gear.
yeah.
Right, sort of
Yeah.
stuff?
So in terms of power, what are we talking?
At maximum, if we wick it up, we're close to 600 kilowatts.
Yeah.
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 It
right.
doesn't have to go around and do 40 laps.
40 laps, just
It's
that
got to
one.
do that one perfect lap
And
to
I
love that.
get it
Rob's
done.
actually had to teach me, you're not going out to do lap after lap after lap. It's do a hot lap and then cool down. Do a hot lap, then cool down.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a while to actually learn how to do that because I'm so much I'm very much a go out there and cut lap after lap
build,
after lap.
sort of
Yeah.
build up to a
Build
crescendo.
momentum.
Yeah,
But
got
you
ya.
can't do that in these cars.
Yeah, and the dry sump. This is you guys as well. This is yours, like one.
No, that's just a Morosso. Yeah, like you buy the kit and it comes in a kit. It's a Morosso tank.
Cool.
Yeah, that's, with dry sumps, it's probably not worth trying to make one up. You just buy a kit that's already done.
Because they've done the R&D to
Yeah.
make it just what they need.
Yeah.
Big fat lines coming and going
Yeah,
from it. Yeah.
Plumber's nightmare. Or my nightmare.
Yeah, that's it. This is tell me about this gearbox.
So it runs an X-Shift 6-speed sequential gearbox. It's paddle shifted, and when I originally bought the car, I had a Samsonite Sequential. It was a stick shift. They're a lot more physical, the stick shifts. So you're actually having to do a lot of that and drive the car at the same time. I have to say I'm a bit of a convert when it comes to the sequential gearboxes and the paddles. They're actually amazing, and X-Shift gratefully have provided a really good box.
Now, the number one question from the moment I walked up is, why is it flat? You see how it doesn't sweep up? It's just this flat wall there. What's going on with that?
So, look, I'm not. Look, aero is a bit of a dark art, really.
Isn't it?
It is. And I've learned a lot about aero in the last couple of years. But my understanding is the reason you have that flap is it creates like vortices that push down on the actual
I understand.
splitter.
Yeah.
You actually do feel that these things do actually work. So
Especially with that big
Yeah.
the whole thing. So is this just an off-the-shelf thing? Where'd you get it from?
it is off the shelf, but it's so Greg from Sydney Composites. He's done all the carbon work on this car, but this front splitter is actually designed by Sammy Diasanos. He's an aerodynamicist. He used to work on Formula One cars. He's heavily involved with the Pro Class winning car, the Porsche
969?
968. So Barton Moyer drives that car. So he does a lot of work on that car. I know he's designed that's all specialised aero. Doors are carbon, roof's carbon, bonnet's carbon, rear boot's carbon, and this is a unique design. So Greg from Sydney Composites designed this sort of duckbill.
Oh, it's pretty, isn't it?
Duckbill.
Doesn't it look good?
Rear carbon.
It's hard.
Boot lid.
It's hard for the camera to see it, but it's a really nice little profile feature.
It is, and it's beautifully made.
Yes.
Greg's also done the rear wing, which is a dual element rear wing. It's quite large,
Isn't it?
but it actually provides a lot of grip, a lot of rear end grip. Got a rear diffuser as well.
Yep. Is
So-
this same
Yeah. So Sydney Composites have designed this. This is an off-the-shelf one, and what it does is it just sort of directs air under the car and then out the back, so it sort of aids that the aerodynamics of the car. So it doesn't hold that much, maybe 30 litres. Water meth in the back. Mm-hmm. These wings, because they generate so much downforce, you can't just sort of stick them to your boot lid. It actually has to be chassis mounted. So
No. Where's your door?
there it is.
Look at you holding it one-handed. Far out. And it's not because you're Mr. Olympia. It's because it weighs nothing.
Well, I'm Mr. Olympia and it weighs nothing, so...
that gives you a nice view of the roll cage. So what was wrong with the Japanese roll cage? It just...
Well, it doesn't meet the CAMS, the Confederation of Australian Motorsport regulations.
Yep. Okay.
So you need to, to have a race car here.
Yep.
You have to have a compliant roll cage. So.
And they weren't happy to just look at what they had done.
No. Otherwise, you can't run events with non-compliant roll cage.
Tell me about when you got the car.
So I bought the car about 3 years ago. It was a green Japanese race car, so it came out a few years back. It's never been registered in Australia, and I picked it up. I saw an opportunity on My 105. This car had been sort of sitting on My 105 for about a year, and it had a good motor in it, Samsung, a Sequential, and it needed a bit of work, but I thought it was a sort of a good base for starting to get into time attack.
And you were saying when you first got the car, there was like a few teething issues when you first got it?
Well, when you first take a car to the track, you kind of think that you're just going to run laps and laps and laps, and that's always what I've been used to, just cutting laps. But with time attack cars, as the power goes up, you start having issues. This didn't have a dry sump in it, so we were having oil pressure surge going around corners. You have oil pressure surge.
Yeah.
But then we had some other issues with the engine. They can't take a lot of power, and as you start putting aero on, you get drag, and you need the power to push through the drag.
Yeah. And looking at this car now, I reckon you could drive this thing upside down with this front spoiler on here.
Well, maybe somebody else can. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'd be game to do that. But you certainly driving an aero car is very different to driving a car without aero. So a car without aero, you're relying heavily on mechanical grip, and then when you go to aero, the car is being pushed to the ground, and it's very, very different. You've still got mechanical grip, but you've also got the aero pushing the car to the ground, so you can go much faster through corners.
Yep.
And you have to unlearn a little bit of what you've learnt driving a car without aero and using that mechanical grip. So.
Okay. Tell us about the colour change from green and why you chose black.
Well, look, I never really liked the green colour. It was a bit out there. I'm not an out there kind of guy, and I really like the Tilton car. I like the matte black of the Tilton car. So I thought an Evo 6 in matte black would be epic. So I had it sprayed in matte black. I don't want the car to be a billboard, so just a few sponsors decals on it. But I love the satin matte black. I think it looks really good. It looks quite stealthy on the track as well, and people move out of the way when I'm coming up behind them.
Yeah, you look like Darth Vader coming up behind him. The big spoiler, the whole black everything.
Well, I actually thought of Kit in Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Just having like a light that goes from side to side in the front, that could be pretty cool. That. No one's done that before.
I like that. What sort of got you into motor racing originally?
So my dad was a mechanic back in the 70s and 80s. He had a business over at Roselle, Speedy Steering, and he's retired now. But in those days, as a boy, he used to take me into work, and he used to sponsor a lot of guys with Dado 1600s, Mini Coopers, Mark 1, Mark 2 Escorts. And he used to take me away sponsoring these guys with 1600s, and we used to take the Kingswood up to the Wardigan Forest, and we'd have at the back of the Kingswood would be full of rally tyres, and we'd be changing tyres in Parc Ferme. We grew up with a Cooper S, a Mark II Cooper S, and Dad used to super sprint that Cooper S. He used to put Mum in the passenger seat, us, my brother and I, in the rear seat, and we used to be sitting on race tyres. And we would drive out to Amaroo, and he'd put the race tyres on, and we'd be there for the day watching him race around at Amaroo in the family Cooper S. I mean, you can't get much more grassroots garage than that. So, but I've always been interested in motorsport, and I've used my road cars up until getting serious with this car. I never really liked coming midfield in my Audi RS3. Didn't matter how much money I spent on that car, it was good in a straight line, but it just wouldn't go around corners. So I bought this car because I thought I'm going to take it to the next level, and I wanted to do time attack. and I wanted to be more competitive. Now, back in the 90s, I used to do some super sprints back in those days. It was very sort of basic. So I had a Mazda RX-7 Series 3 Finale. I used to do some sprinting in that. I ran an Evo 6 in Targa, Tasmania in 2006. We weren't super competitive because it's an endurance event. You have to make the car last for 2,000 competitive kilometres. So you're thrashing the car for 2,000 k. So you've got to make it get to the end of the event. We had a breakage, the rear diff on one of the last stages.
We're down at Powertune, and Powertune's going to be there right with you the whole way through?
They are. So Powertune have really, when I bought the car, they supported me from the beginning. Time attack is really a team sport. You can't just roll it off the trailer, fire it up, do lap after lap after lap. It's really, you need to make sure the car's warmed up, the oil pressure's up to temp, your tyres are checked. So there's a lot of work that actually goes into keeping the car on the track. We have a sort of a pit to car, so Rob will communicate with me when there's a break in the traffic. Go for your hot lap.
So when you were going for your hot lap,
yep.
You're like that. Is that turn 18? That last one? So it's a Gardner circuit.
Coming onto the
so
coming
you
onto the
come
straight.
around that top corner, and you're as soon as you're just pinning it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And that's when you're going for it.
Yes, and you've got to try and hit all your apexes, your braking points. You're going as deep as you can into corners, and you're just trying to put together a perfect lap, really.
Are you studying the circuit now, getting your ideas of where your braking points are and all that sort of stuff?
I look at a lot of in-car footage of other drivers, so drivers that know the circuit really well, have done well at the circuit. I've put a pro driver in my car,
yes.
not at Eastern Creek, but down at Wakefield, and I look at his overlay compared to my overlay. So, is he going deeper into a corner than I am? Where is he braking? Where is he hitting the apex? So I'm really judging how I'm going off what other people are doing, and certainly Chia here at Powertune and Ryan, they give me a lot of feedback. So we've got telemetry in the car, so they'll give me feedback of where I can go faster, where my braking points are. All that information I use to try and go faster, essentially.
Yeah. So do you want some in-car of me and my Gemini going around there? Is that what you need? Because I can give you that as well.
I'm happy to look at some in-car of you and your Gemini, Pete. Yep.
Talk to me about the morning of. Do you just turn up at the track, or have you got to come here and trailer it? What goes on?
So, we can't drive this to the track, even though Powertune's at Eastern Creek and we can hear the race cars. Yeah. It's got to go onto the trailer. So, the splitter has to come off and it goes on the trailer, and we go and get find our garage, and then we set the car up pretty much. I think they do a driver briefing in the morning, pretty much, where they sort of go on or discuss what the expectation is, flag marshals, all that kind of stuff.
And then Saturday is the big day?
Saturday's the big day. That's when it all counts, really. So you're putting on your fresh tyres and you're trying to go flat out without bending the car. Yeah.
I love that. So this last week is a real crunch week where we get everything ready for Time Attack. I'm absolutely pumped. It's the best motorsport event you could ever go to. You got to be there. Powertune, thanks heaps for having us down here. Damon, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Pete.
Stay tuned for part 2 with Damon's Evo as we follow his progress at World Time Attack.